Welcome to the Best Things Podcast. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Best Things Pod as well. Now, here are your hosts, Craig and Aaron.
Hello, internets. Welcome into the Best Things Podcast. My name is Craig. Sitting along next to me, as always, Monopoly Man himself, Aaron Brooks.
That's right.
Does he have a name?
Mr. Monopoly.
Is it Mr. Monopoly?
I think so.
I know or not McDonald's. What's the other one I'm thinking of that's similar?
Mr. Peanut?
No, hold on. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. But isn't it like Pennyworth or something? I want to say it maybe it's Pennyworth, but not. I don't know. For some reason, the name Pennyworth. Or am I thinking of Alfred Pennyworth?
Milburn Pennybags.
Pennybags.
Also known as Rich Uncle.
Okay. I
Also called Mr. Monopoly or Monopoly Guy.
I think the Mr. Monopoly is just kind of easier.
Hey, I would tell you a board game joke, but it might go over your head.
Is that's
the joke?
Welcome to our never-ending series called AI Tells Bad Jokes.
Here's another quick one-liner. Okay. Board games are great for socializing, unless someone starts playing Monopoly.
That's just a true fact.
That's just like that's a proverb. Like you should. That would be in a fortune cookie. You open that one up. I would love to create AI fortune cookies.
That would be phenomenal. $1 billion idea.
Yes, it is.
Oh, we got to get out. You didn't hear that, internet. Just ignore what you just heard. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, don't steal the idea. I'm reading a book on board games. It's a real page turner.
That's so bad.
Terrible.
These are so bad. Oh, that could be the whole episode. Is just us reading off bad ChatGPT jokes. He read another one, guys.
Another one.
Go ahead before I tell people what we're talking about, which should be obvious by now.
Why are board games bad at secrets?
Why?
Because they always spill the beans.
I love how beans we're supposed to know what that is.
I don't know what that means.
Get it? You know, that's basically what ChatGPT is doing. Like, yeah, you get it? We're talking about board games today. Today or tomorrow, this week sometime. Was it National Monopoly Day?
It's National Monopoly Day. Play Monopoly Day or something like that.
This is the time of year where chances are very strong you're playing a game with family or something.
We've always advocated for that at this time of year.
Yeah. And so you're probably gathered around. You got Thanksgiving coming up next week. And so you're probably hanging out with family and just deciding, while the turkey's finishing up, let's throw a game on the board or on the table or after dinner. Late nights.
Unless you would like to sit around with family and listen to episodes of this podcast.
You could also do that.
People might do that.
Instead of playing a board game, listen to us talk about board games for an hour.
I recommended, somebody was asking me the other day my thoughts on the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, listen, I don't need to tell you my thoughts right now. You need to listen to our podcast episode on it.
Was that last year or the year before?
I think it was the year before.
That is still to this day.
They died when I told them there was nothing less entertaining than watching a parade than listening to us explain the floats in a parade.
We should do it again. Just because, that should be a tradition. Craig and Aaron explain the parade. It's like we should do it we should make it sound like old timey radio. Like we're just describing before TV. Let's just describe the parade. Oh, yeah, we're talking board games. Now, we had the discussion amongst ourselves. What's the criteria here? And it was a tough decision to make, but I think we landed on, for the sake of time and brevity.
Also for potential future content.
That's true. I think, sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot by trying to include everything in one episode. We're going to just limit ourselves to board games. So it must have a board of some kind. We may reference other ones because, we're jibber jabbers. So we're going to talk. But As far as the contents of this bracket go, it must require a board of some kind.
We're not throwing card games in there.
No.
Jenga doesn't count.
No, that's on a lot of these lists.
It is.
But no.
Twister.
Yeah. Although I asked ChatGPT, because it gave me a list of a whole bunch of like card games. I said, can you limit it to games that only have a board? It still listed Jenga and said it gave a description, a reasoning why.
Okay.
In parentheses, it says involves a physical tower structure. That's not a board, but thanks for playing. So it has to have a board of some kind. It can be one of the cardboard boards. It can be a plastic game board. I think we'll go through the list as we go. And if we feel like we need to veto something, we can. But yeah, are you ready to hop into or move 3 spaces ahead into the wonderful world of board games?
Let's do it.
Before we can figure out the best thing, we have to talk about all the things. It's time for The Thing About the Things.
All right, the wonderful, wonderful world of board games. You kind of mentioned it, we are big advocates of board games. We before we had kids, we often liked to, we get together about once a month or so and play board games, it felt like.
Yes.
Doesn't happen very much these days. But, I think we've both said, like, hopefully the day's coming soon where the kids can play their own board game or something and let us adults have our time.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know that there's categories since we're doing just one category. So I'm going to let you go first, and let's just dive in.
Okay.
I think I know what you're going to take.
It would be inappropriate to not talk about Monopoly first.
Yeah.
Since it is the inspiration behind this episode, and since I do consider myself the Monopoly guy.
You are a Monopoly guy.
I'm Mr. Monopoly.
How many different boards do you have? Do you know?
I don't know the count off the top of my head, but I'm going to say it's north of 30, maybe north of 40.
That's wild. Every year, around this time, we're thinking Christmas gifts and things like that. And inevitably, Lauren and I will go shopping. And we'll see some newfangled version of Monopoly that comes out. And there's always part of me that goes, oh, I'm thinking of Aaron and Erica. I'm like, oh, we should get that for you guys. But then also in the back of my head, I'm like, they probably have it. And if they don't, I would have to ask them to make sure they don't.
Right.
Have it.
Right.
Because y'all have so many.
We do.
How many versions do they have? Do we know?
Yes, there are more than, as of 2023, October of 2023, there were over 1,000 different versions of Monopoly.
Smokes.
That includes, because, now they've gotten into doing city-specific editions. Right. I mean, they're doing everything now. So over 1,000 editions. So I'm not even scratching the surface.
Let's see. Can you list off the ones you think you have?
So I have Classic Monopoly, other versions of Classic Monopoly that are in different kinds of boards.
Right.
There may be a glass board or a felt-covered board. So just Classic Monopoly. There is Monopoly City Edition. I'm trying to even remember the name of it. Razorback-opoly, Christmas-opoly, Cersei-opoly, Star Wars. Let's see, what else would we have? I've got John Deere. I've got...
Do they have an Office Monopoly?
I have Office Monopoly. We have... I have a political themed Monopoly.
Okay. Is there like a national parks one maybe?
I've got multiple national parks ones.
Okay.
I've got 2 or 3 different ones that they've had over the years. I have a Razorback Monopoly from like the 80s.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know they made a Razorback-opoly that long ago. I bought it in an auction a couple of years ago. Paid a lot of money for that one. Mm-hmm. The most expensive Monopoly I have, I think I spent about $200 on.
Oh, my goodness. There are a lot. I mean, we've got several, and we're not. I mean, at this point, it's a collecting thing, right? You're mostly collecting them. You're probably not playing.
We have not played half of those.
Yeah. We've got, classic Monopoly. We have a Friends version of Monopoly. We have a Walking Dead version of Monopoly, Cersei-opoly. One I've always liked is that I think they called it Here and Now, where you had like a debit card that you swiped. That was a lot of fun because you didn't have to be the banker so much.
We have a 2000 version of it. This is one Erica had, but it's got like opaque money from Y2K.
Oh wow!
It was like this very futuristic board. That one was really neat. We have a cheater's version of Monopoly.
Yes. Okay. I got that for my dad for Christmas.
That one's kind of fun. You get handcuffed, and I think you're supposed to try to get out of it.
The goal is to cheat.
Yes.
Yeah, you're supposed to try to cheat as much as you can and get away with it.
I have been accused so many times of cheating in games. Most of it is not valid.
Yeah, but we've played enough games with you to know. I mean, you're number one. You are good at games. You've got a good mind for board games. You have to admit you have cheated a time or two. You see what you can get away with. I've done it as well. I'm not gonna lie. I've done it as well.
Yeah.
But I think couple that with you just being pretty good and seem to be very lucky at times too. All that stuff kind of comes together for we don't believe you.
There is real strategy that comes into Monopoly. And I think only the really hardcore Monopoly nerds get into looking through the strategy and what the odds are of certain properties. And so, I mean, that's at one time we were playing Monopoly so much that's what I had really gotten into. So I would just have very specific strategy plans with Monopoly.
My wife hates playing Monopoly with me and my brother because me and my brother are the kind of people who play Monopoly. I think you're probably similar. Maybe not, because you tend to go by the rule, like whatever the rules typically say. Me and my brother will invent rules. And we'll make deals that are so far off what the intention of the rule is supposed to be. Like I will buy this property for you, let you pay to have houses on it, and we split the profits.
Okay.
We'll do stuff like that. Or, I will give me interest on it now or pay me 4 turns from now, but I need $200 extra. We'll do random things. And every time my brother tries to make the deal with my wife, she gets so mad because she's like, that's not how you play the game.
That typically, I mean, I do like to stick to the rules. I am okay if a rule is decided, like the free parking thing.
Yeah.
That's not in the Monopoly rules.
Right, yeah.
Most people play that if you land on it, you get the money out of them. I'm okay with deciding on rules like that up front. But for the most part, I like to stick to that. It is difficult to play with Lauren, though, because she can be very difficult to deal with at times.
Yeah. She is very stubborn and sticks to her guns on stuff like
playing Monopoly. I also I don't like to be a good-hearted person when I play.
You can't be. Like if you want to win,
I want to crush somebody if I'm playing. If I get crushed, I get crushed. But I do not want to extend mercy to you in playing this. Like, just skip over paying me rent. No, if I can take everything away from you, that's what I want to do. I mean, that's the point of the game.
Yeah.
So,
like people who say, "Well, can we work out a deal for rent?" No. Like you pay me what I'm owed, or you go to the poorhouse.
That's right.
It's a very Christian way to play the game.
And it makes it difficult when I play with other people that have like small kids that want to play, because they all, I was doing this at my friend's house and Eric was like, you can't do that. You have to be nice. I'm like, why? They have to learn. If they want to.
You were doing it to a child.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sitting here thinking, be a good example. No, you're doing this to a child.
I'm crushing a child in Monopoly. And I'm being told, you should just, let them pass over that.
What is the strategy? No. What property are you going for first? Do you have a specific, or just whatever you land on, you gobble up?
No, I have a strategy.
Okay. What's your strategy?
I'm not going to tell you my strategy because we do play Monopoly. So, but yes, I do have a very specific strategy that I like to use. It's not a bad idea though to just buy as fast as you can. I mean,
I don't know. I always like to. I'll tell my strategy because I'm not good at Monopoly anyway. People always want to go for Park Place and Boardwalk.
Right.
That's good in theory, but expensive.
It is expensive.
If you load up on the cheap properties
Sure.
and put a buttload of hotels on them,
Yep.
that usually does more damage faster.
So since you said that, I'll go ahead and agree and risk that I don't play with a lot of people that are listening to it. But yeah, 99% of the time, I will just pass over. I will not take Park Place and Boardwalk.
Yeah.
It's just not a good investment. The odds aren't there for it. The way the board is. Now, the odds change because some of these other versions, they shrink the board.
Yeah.
So in some of the new versions of it, they only have 2 properties that go around the entire board. The classic board where you've got 3 of some, 2 of the other, your odds are based on that. That's what I'm looking at. So in those other games, it kind of changes where you land.
Varies based on the flow of the game. Like if somebody gets a single property, well then you can't get the monopoly on that property. So and if it's somebody like Lauren, she's not giving up that property for something unless you have something she really, really wants. Even then, it's going to take 4 or 5 turns.
Yes.
So you've got to shift to a different strategy. My brother loves the railroads. That's usually his because it's fairly simple, and usually people are willing to trade those away if they don't already have one.
I don't think railroads are a great investment.
They're not, but
you can get money pretty easy out of them. But your long-term strategy for the game, I think, is hurt by investing in the railroads.
Yeah.
Man, it makes me want to get Monopoly out and play it. This is National Play Monopoly Day or week or whatever.
Favorite? You have a go-to token? What token you taking first? The original game included Battleship, Top Hat, and Iron. There's been T-Rex, the dog. There's been.
I do not like the dog. I hate it if I'm the dog.
Really?
I don't like the dog. I don't like the shoe.
There's the thumbnail, or the thimble.
Thimble. Yeah.
I've never been a fan of that.
I like the car.
Yeah.
I like the money bag.
There's a boot and a wheelbarrow.
I don't mind being the wheelbarrow.
This says they were retired in 2017.
Yes, some of those were retired. Or were all of those retired?
I'm not sure. It says the thimble, boot, and wheelbarrow were retired in 2017.
Yes, I do remember that.
I do like the car. I don't mind the top hat either.
The top hat doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Why do you have a problem with the dog?
I don't like that breed of dog. It looks like a little terrier.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Definitely looks like a terrier.
And I'm just not a terrier fan.
Okay. That's a good reason, I guess.
If they had made it an English bulldog.
Okay.
If they had made it
I bet there's an all dogs version. It's just multiple different types of dogs. I bet that's out there.
They got to.
Yeah.
They got to. So anyway, it's my number one.
Yeah.
It's my number one seed. I think that it is my favorite game. Most of my family doesn't want to play Monopoly with. I try to get them to play.
This is probably the game. I mean, they make jokes about it for a reason, but like this game happens. It'll get turned over. Like stuff's going to get thrown.
I've been accused of that, and I've never done it.
My mom famously tells a story of one time playing with her brothers and sisters where that happened. But I mean, I've definitely been part of games where you just kind of have to stop playing, just because it's just getting a little intense. It's also a very long game, so you got to dedicate some time.
It holds the Guinness World Record for the longest marathon playing session that lasted 70 days. That was achieved in 1975.
Holy smoke, 70 days of Monopoly. Like you gotta, for 70 days, like you gotta come to a lot of like standstill deals, right? Like,
I don't know how you do that without.
Like at a certain point, like okay, fine, I'll just give it to you, just to be done. Man, 70 days.
Yes. Now there are versions of it that are faster.
There are, yeah. And there's versions. I think it's in the rules where you can start out or everybody gets a property.
Yes.
Like you just divide up the properties.
Everything's handed out at the very beginning.
What you get's what you get, and you can wheel and deal from there.
Yes.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, those are interesting variations to play. I love variations on it.
because then you're just wheeling and dealing.
Yes.
You're just trying to make deals. What do you got? There's of course a lot of house rules too. You already mentioned the free parking. But everybody's got their own house rules. I mean, depending on what you do, on like you got to go, and some of these may be real rules, and I don't know, but like you have to go around the whole board first before you can buy a property. And
I think that varies because I have seen that in rule books. I don't think that's in the classic Monopoly.
Really?
But it may be in some of the variations of Monopoly.
This may be a real. I feel like this one may be a real, maybe not, where you have to buy up all the houses before you can put a hotel on. Is that a real rule? A classic rule? But I mean, I've played it. We've also said it before, ahead of time. Hey, go ahead and just plop down the money and pay for a house and then put the hotel down. So I mean, there's so many different ones out there. That's a good number one. Let's see. What would I take with my first round draft pick? This is tough because that's probably going to win it. It's so far ahead. I think
it has a big lead.
It's got a huge lead.
I mean, this would be like Patriots Falcons comeback to beat Monopoly.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
They're up 28-3 at half.
But the one I think might be possibly kind of contend with it, I'm going to take for my number one, and that is Settlers of Catan.
Yes. That game is so much fun.
For such a simple game. Like, at its core, it's way more simple than Monopoly is.
It is. But the book is strangely like 30 pages.
I know.
I mean, you got to read a book to get through everything that's there. The entry point feels very overwhelming.
Yes.
When we first got it, I was like, I don't know if we're ever going to learn this or not.
Yeah.
But then after it's like, okay, it feels like they could have made it more simple than what it is.
Yeah. The instructions on how to play are ridiculous, but once you've played it once, you never have to look at the instructions again. Now, expansion packs are a different story.
Yes.
We got really into Catan for a while.
Yeah.
And so we got an expansion pack, Pirates and something, and that got a little bit more complicated just in the layout, and you had to have, it was just.
So far, I have not found a version I like as much as the original.
Same.
Close for me would be Settlers, which is the U.S. map.
Yeah.
And you start on the East Coast and expand west. I think that one's fun.
That might have been the first version I really played.
Okay.
It might have been. I think y'all brought that one time.
Yeah, we did.
Before I had ever really gotten into Settlers of Catan. But it's so much fun. I mean, and I guess there's no reason to explain Monopoly. Everybody's played Monopoly.
Yes.
But there may be people out there that never played Catan.
Yeah.
You've got individual hexagonal pieces that have different land types. You've got
wheat, ore,
which is rock. You've got
trees, forest.
Yeah, for lumber. And then you've got some dead space, some desert.
Yes.
And then you've got, it borders around it with water.
Yes. It's an island.
The pasture for sheep.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you randomly place those out there. And then everybody gets 2 initial huts, properties.
I believe so.
And you're just linking those together by roads. And you roll a dice, and whatever that number lands on, if it lands on your numbers, then you collect those resources, and you're just trying to build your own little civilization. You get points. You can go to quote unquote battle. The rook sucks. On that game.
Yes.
It's called robber. The robber sucks on that game, but it's a necessary part of it. We will if we want to speed the game up, we'll take the robber off.
Okay.
We'll just eliminate the robber.
Yeah.
And say if you draw a 7, then
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Catan's great though.
It's after we went through our really big Monopoly phase and we were ready for something else, and we shifted to that, and I think we were both really into Catan there for quite a while. That's one that, again, I'd like to get back out.
Yeah.
The way it's sitting in our house, I can see it in our entertainment center. It's got glass doors on the front of it. And for some reason, that game is sitting right there.
Yeah.
I look at it every night. I'm like, I really want to get that out and play.
Yeah, that's not one like. I guess you could play with just two of you, but it's a lot more fun when you got a few more people. But it caps off. Like you can't play with more than 5.
Is 5? Yeah.
I want to say it may be 5, because we tried to play with my family and there's 6 of us, and it was like, well, we can't really play.
Mm-hmm.
But you might be able to get an expansion pack for it though, to play with more. What else we got?
For my number 2 spot, I want to take Ticket to Ride.
Great pick.
Ticket to Ride. This is a newer game. I don't know how new it is, but it is in the modern category of board games. It feels like I've seen on the lists. It became new to me just in the last 5, 6, 7 years, it feels like. And we've had an absolute blast playing Ticket to Ride.
Another game with a lot of variations.
Yes.
You've got what? Europe, US.
There's kids versions of it. But this one is a very simple game.
Very, very simple.
Sort of like the Settlers of Catan, US. This one, you're just building railroads across the country.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun to get trains. I love trains. I'm a big fan of trains.
Yeah.
People make fun of me for liking trains, like Sheldon Cooper. I like trains. I like board games. You put trains and board games together, and boom. You got a great game.
They can be highly competitive, too, for such a simple game. Like, you can
Yes.
really block people's path, and you can really kind of just get at each other. I asked ChatGPT to give me dates for all these games. Where did it go? I just had it. Ticket to Ride is 2004.
So it's not
as far as board games go, it's fairly new, but not nearly as new as I think either one of us may have thought.
Yeah, it was new to me, and just
Monopoly came out in 1935. Settlers of Catan in 1995.
So what would you consider to be the cutoff for classic versus modern?
I don't know. I mean, maybe 90. I don't know. It feels like it should be earlier than that. 90 was 35 years ago. But so yeah, I mean, I guess 90 would be.
So Catan would fit the modern.
Yeah, I definitely think Catan is modern.
Okay.
Yeah. Ticket to Ride. Yeah, it's great. I think there's an app version. I know there's an Xbox version.
Really?
You can play Ticket to Ride on your Xbox.
Oh.
I know when I first got my newer Xbox a while back, I was looking for some of the free games, and I think that one was a free game at the time. I don't know if it still is, but you could play. It's not nearly as fun, just by yourself against a computer, but you can pick how many different computers play with you. But it's a lot of fun. And it's fairly quick. It doesn't take very long to play.
Yeah, this one's a faster moving game.
You can get through it in 30 minutes or so, 45, to an hour.
It's an under an hour game, I feel like. Yeah. Definitely.
And the pacing is pretty good. I mean, again, for those that don't know how to play, there are different colored train cards, and they're just stacked up, and you draw what? 1 or 2 per turn, and the color card you get determines which path you can go. And so
you may get a card that tries to connect Miami to New York City.
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part, because you got to draw those cards ahead of time too.
So you already have these predetermined routes that you're trying to connect, and the longer the route is, the more points that is worth.
Yeah.
So you got to decide, do I want to take one of these? It's like a cross country,
because you draw what, 3 or 5 or something like that at the beginning, and you have to choose at least 2, I think.
And you get rid
of the numbers. I don't remember, but
you can get rid of one of them, I think. Something like that.
So you got to be strategic. Like, can you go for the easy one but low points, or you take the risk? And try to go.
It may take you the whole game trying to get across country to build one.
If you're trying to go from Vancouver to Miami
and you get blocked,
then you got to backtrack and go around the blockage.
Yes.
And you can link them. You can connect them together.
Yes.
So, like, if you've got one from Seattle to LA, and then San Diego to Phoenix, those can all connect.
Yes.
But
and then you get awarded points at the end of the game. Whoever has the longest
and there's
route.
Inevitably at some point in that game, if you feel like, okay, there's no way I can win based on my routes, You just start placing.
You start, yes.
Wherever you can.
You're just blocking people at that point. Like,
My brother loves to do that when we play this game. He loves to just play spoiler.
Here it is on the PlayStation Store. It's $25. I don't know if I'd spend $25 on it.
Oh, wow. If it's the same game as Xbox, I don't know that it's worth $25. Unless you just really love just want to sharpen your skills.
Right.
But it was a fun play, but not worth paying the money for.
No.
Gosh, we got some good ones out of the way. I'm going to mention a couple that I'm not going to take. Maybe you hit the button on me. But they are some of the oldest games out there. We have to mention chess and checkers.
When you think of classic board games,
there's none more classic.
I mean, those were some of the first ones I grew up playing.
Yeah. We looked it up. And checkers, 3000 BC.
Yeah.
It was created. So, I mean, you're talking a very old game. Chess came around in 1200 AD. But, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, people that just playing with rocks, creating this probably chalk outline board. I grew up playing checkers. I love chess, too. I don't play it very often.
In a long time.
But I watched, I saw it's been election season, so it's my time to put the West Wing on. I came across the episode of when Jed Bartlett it's the one they remade for their anniversary.
Okay.
I can't remember what the episode title is. I used to know it, but the one where President hands out the chess sets.
Yes.
And I was like, I hadn't played chess in a while, so I pulled it up on my Mac because Apple has the chess.
It was like the only game they had, isn't it?
The only game. And so I pulled it up, and I'm really rusty because I've lost every single game I played.
When I was, 10 to 15 years old, I was really into chess and playing that. And again, there's a lot of strategy that goes into chess. And it's really great for your mind playing chess, especially because you have to think multiple moves ahead down the road.
Checkers, you don't have to think as hard about.
No, checkers is easy.
But chess, man, you've every piece.
Now I did play chess a couple of years ago, and I'm like, I've forgotten all of the strategy that's involved with it. I don't remember.
I'm lucky to remember the moves that they make, let alone trying to think ahead. You can get caught in traps very easily and just really lose fast.
What I'm seeing here is that this one says that variants of checkers have been played for over 5,000 years.
Wow.
But an AI milestone was reached in 2007 that the game of checkers was solved by a team led by a man by the name of Jonathan Schaefer, and he played perfect play, and they figured out how to always have the game result in a draw.
Oh, really? So, but two people need to know how to do that.
I guess so.
I mean, I've had it in a draw before. Checkers, right?
Checkers.
Yeah. That's interesting, though.
I like those the chess turn, like speed chess.
I don't know how to do it.
That is just insane.
I don't know how to do it. How they think that fast.
Or watching people play like 4D chess.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're
or multiple games of chess at a time.
At a time.
I mean, you just gotta have a big brain.
Yes.
I don't have that.
No. I don't either.
Checkers also has some house rules too, like as far as like the king me's and how to incorporate bringing stuff back and eliminating. So you can have some house rules with checkers too.
You can,
and we cannot mention checkers without talking about Cracker Barrel.
It's one of the. I was about to bring it up because it's just one of the first things comes to mind. The front porch.
Yeah.
Checkers.
That cloth.
Yes,
that
the cloth board.
Giant checkerboard. Of course, that's I don't know if y'all have done this, but like that was always a staple of any event we would do. You just it's pretty easy to make a giant checkerboard, out of just, we would use like paper plates or something, if we needed to.
I've seen some city parks where they'll have either a giant checker or chess set with like major pieces that you can move. They just look so fun.
Those are. I'm not going to take either of those. It's tempting, but I'm not going to. I'm trying to think of what my next one's. I know what my next one's going to be. Give me Risk.
I was hoping that was going to slide through because that's where I was headed next.
Oh, I gave you Ticket to Ride. My bad. Or I gave myself Ticket to Ride. Did you want Ticket to Ride it too?
Number 2.
Talk to the people about Risk while I'm fixing.
Well, if you think that Monopoly is a long game, let me introduce you to Risk. It is a game that can go on.
Oh, man.
I'm surprised that Monopoly holds the world record, because I think of Risk is one of those games that Eric and I used to set up a board and we would keep it going for days. You know, we've had it set up for a week or more. You know, we would just play and play and play and start over. It is a long game.
Long. Yeah. Again, if you're not familiar, you get a lot of number. The whole idea is to conquer the world.
Yes.
Okay. Global domination.
There's multiple versions of this, but I like the classic version the best.
Classic is great. Classic is that the whole world, right?
Yes.
The map of the world. So you got to be. This takes a lot of strategy.
There is a lot of strategy here.
I mean, because you have to figure out how many people are you willing to risk in this move that you're making. And it's strategic in that way. It's strategic on which pathway you'd like to go, what countries you want to conquer, what continents you want to conquer. So you've got to be very strategic in all facets of the game. And it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun.
I was really into Risk several years ago. And just like Monopoly, I got into reading and watching videos about Risk strategy.
Yeah. And
I can still remember some of it, but it did improve my Risk play when I started to employ some of these strategies. As if you're just playing for fun, I don't like playing games for fun. I really don't.
Games should not be fun.
They shouldn't. Games are meant to, show how competitive you are.
Games are meant for pure dominance. Like,
yes.
You're supposed to just crush your opponent.
You want to crush people.
This is practice for the real world. That's what this is happening. They do have an iPhone version of this, or an iPad. And I used to play for hours on my iPad, the iPad version of this game.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It's worth paying some money for.
It is.
You need to. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a console version or not. Surely there is.
I would have to imagine so. I think mine, I can't remember if it connected to the TV or if I would just AirPlay it to the TV. But Eric and I would sit, if we didn't want to have to get out the board and everything, we would just play on the phone.
It's much faster.
So
you
much
don't have to move the pieces.
No, and rolling.
Yeah.
Just, you just click a button and boom, and it wipes the people off. There's so many pieces.
There's so
like with a little kid now, getting out a Risk board would just be...
Ellie's eating those. Those are going in her mouth.
There's like 1,000 pieces that go with a Risk.
And Ellie, she's going to find there's going to be some moment she's going to go, ha, 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 and just wipe them all away. If you don't know the context what we're talking about, so you get allotted a number of army men, basically, but they're really they're not like what you're thinking of when you think
they're
of
small army men.
They're really tiny army men, and you get horses,
cannons,
that equal like 5 of the men or 10 of the men.
Yes,
and you get a certain allotment of those, and it divvies up to where they're all spread out. But then you get to place territories where you'd like. I think you get given some territories at the beginning, like by default. Like you draw cards, and that's where your starting point is. Again, house rules. Sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes you just say, we're each going to take turns, and you just place it where you want to. But the whole idea is that if I am the United States and my red team is on the U.S. and your blue team is on Canada, my goal, I want to take over North America.
Yes.
Because if I take over North America, that's a multiplier.
Yes.
And I get more. And so the whole time you're trying to build your army up, and there's not really a point system in this, right? I'm trying to remember. I don't think there's a point system of any kind. I think it's just multiplying how many men you can receive and place where you want.
It's been several years since I played, and I'm just kind of going blank on that part of it. I'd have to be refreshed.
But at that point, it becomes, okay, me versus you. I can put up to whatever the dice will allow you to put. So I'm going to put my 6 guys, and then you roll up against your how many guys. And it all depends on how many people you have there, though.
Yes.
So you can only put as many as you've got there.
Yeah.
And what the dice will allow. And so I roll, and then you roll. And if I get 6 and you get 5, well, my 6 beats your 5. I just took over Canada.
Yes.
And so you move your men over, and suddenly you're closer to taking over North America. And the game ends It goes back and forth like that. You may gain and lose a country.
I mean, you can dominate the map for a while, and then suddenly, boom, 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 boom. The other army just
completely overtakes you. But the game ends when one team has taken over the entire world.
Yes.
And that's the game. And I have seen it happen so many times where you think one person has the game completely won. They have 4 continents. They've limited everybody to the Congo. And you think there's no way they come back. And suddenly, because of just the roll of the dice, they find themselves...
Somebody gets on a hot streak rolling.
Just crawling back and taking over little countries. And then you before you know it, they're taking over a continent and they get the multiplier and they're adding more people. And it just happens fast. I'll say my strategy because I don't expect us to play this anytime soon. I always love going for the corners. For me, it's the corners. Alaska. My go-to, if I have the opportunity, my first continent is Australia.
Same.
Because you can create a base there and just constantly, because there's only so many places they can hit you from.
They can only attack you from one way in Australia. It's called turtling is the actual strategy that goes with taking Australia first and launching out of there. So yes, I always prefer to have Australia as well.
But I like Alaska also because you can hit Russia from that.
Yes.
Area. And so if you need to conquer another continent pretty quickly, some people don't ever think about Alaska and Russia connecting. But they do.
Yes.
So that's a great game. Man, I want to play that now.
I do too.
What do you got?
We
each have 2.
I'm going to take another one then.
Okay. We're just going in order.
We are. Yeah, I'm going to take the game of life.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming.
I'm going to take the game of life. This is
3.
Yes. I can move it around if I need to. I'm going to say yes to number 3. This one's it's easier to play. Mm-hmm. This one incorporates some Monopoly. I mean, you've got all sorts of fun things involved in this one.
This is a more youthful version of Monopoly. Kids can play this one, but it's also got some strategy and some planning involved. Yeah,
but this one, there's not as much desire to crush people in life as the other games so far that we've talked about.
Yeah.
This one's just a little more happy-go-lucky, a little fun, you know. And it's not a long game, it's under an hour, I would say, to play.
It's probably less than that.
To play life, 45 minutes, you can play a round of life.
Probably at least.
To get through. But, it's just, it's fun to, pretend that your salary is $100,000 a year and you're a dog groomer or whatever their jobs are that they have for you. And, you're married with 6 kids, or am I bypassing college? Yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
You get to make some choices along the way. Some choices are just given to you.
Yes. There is, getting to spin that wheel. That's just fun I like the life board.
Right.
May be the best board that's in a game, just the way that it's built.
It's definitely, because it's got some movement. It's got some extra pieces on it.
Yeah.
Plus the tokens, the icons are very fun because it's
fun to move.
It's the car, right? The
you
minivan.
Can choose different paths sometimes to go.
The hardest part is adding the little people into it. When you get married and when you get the kids, they're so tiny.
They are. And then they have the stock market that you can play along the way, where you risk a little extra money to make it. You get to choose your house. I just like the game of life.
It is fun. Yeah, I have not played that though in a very long time.
Playing it here, I think, is the last time we played it, and it's probably been 5 years or more since we played it.
Goodness. Game of Life came out in 1960.
Okay.
1960.
So that's what I kind of would have guessed. It feels like a 60s game.
Yeah.
It has that 60s feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the version that we have of it at home, I think I've still got it. It's from when my brother and sisters were young, and they're so much older than I am. I'm 35, my brother's 55.
Yeah.
I think that they got theirs probably in the 70s or 80s. I think we've still got it. Wow. It's survived a long time.
I am torn on my next pick because I have a feeling whichever one I don't pick, you're going to pick up next. But I'm going to go with the one I probably have played more often. And that is Scrabble.
Okay.
I'm going to take Scrabble.
This game will cause you to feel very smart or make you realize that you don't know a lot of words.
Or both. You can have both experiences in the same game.
Okay, that could be true.
I have had it to where I'm like, oh, that's a great word, and it gets me a lot of points, and then I can't make up any other word after that. I like Scrabble. Scrabble is one I vividly remember, and my mom might still have this board. It was the first like fancy board I remember seeing. My grandmother had this board, and it was a nice kind of acrylic. It had individual slots for the pieces, so you would put a letter down in a specific, so it wouldn't shake around, it wouldn't slide around. It spun. It was very, I want to say it came out in the 70s or 80s. But it was the Lazy Susan-like, so you could just turn it around so everybody could see the letters. Very well done.
I love the one I've always wanted one that would spin. We were never fancy enough to have one that spins.
Yeah. So, but I mean, essentially the modern version of this is Words with Friends.
Yes.
And I'm wondering why they just didn't get the rights from Scrabble to just call it Scrabble, because it's the exact same game.
Exactly.
But I mean, I'm a big fan of Scrabble. You don't have to be, the thing about Scrabble is you don't have to be super intelligent to be good at it.
No.
You just have to be strategic.
There is strategy involved here.
Because you need to figure out, how can I stretch this word or figure out a way to get to that triple letter score, or that double word score, or whatever it is. Do you have a go-to starting word? No. You really can't have a ton of
predetermined
strategy. My mom would always say, and I don't know if this was something my grandma told her, but like, you never think of a word before it's your turn, because inevitably whoever you're playing against will block you from being able to use that word. And it's true. Every time I'm like, okay, I'm up in 2 turns. I think I can spell fox with that F. And then they use that F. And then you're just screwed.
You're out.
Mm-hmm. Scrabble's great, though.
I had some Scrabble notes. I can't find my Scrabble notes. That's one I was going to talk about. Hang on. I'm going to have to re-ask here.
Re-ask. I liked it when Words with Friends came around, though, because that was a big deal for a while, because you could play this game of Scrabble on your phone with anybody, anytime. You didn't have to sit around the board. And those games could go on forever, too.
It was, this is it. It was not originally called Scrabble. Oh. It was originally Crisscross Words.
Oh, wow.
From 1938. It was changed to Scrabble in 1948. So it went 10 years.
10 years is Crisscross Words.
Crisscross Words.
I get why they changed it, because it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Yeah. It was first sold commercially in 1952.
Hold on. So, what? How was it?
Well, I guess this guy
privately.
I guess this guy created. Yeah, I don't know why it says sold commercially. Maybe he was just at a store up, Crisscross Word store,
maybe
selling boards on his own.
Interesting.
I'm not sure. But a guy who first had played it thought that there were some improvements that could be made to it, so he bought the rights and made some improvements to the game, and then started selling it as Scrabble later on. So the guy who started selling it as Scrabble is not the guy who invented the game.
Wow.
But bought it from the guy who invented the game.
Interesting. It is funny that all the different letters, based on their rarity, have different number values associated with them. I had seen this joke online somewhere that said, does anybody else think Q in the alphabet is misplaced? Q does not belong with R and S. It deserves to be toward the end with Y
X
and Z,
Y.
X, Y, Z. Like Q is, because Q is so rarely used, and it's a big deal in Scrabble, that it doesn't deserve to be in the middle of the alphabet.
The highest recorded score in a Scrabble game is 830 points.
Holy cow.
From a guy in 1982 in Manchester, United Kingdom.
Wow.
And each year, they hold a World Scrabble Championship. I feel like this is something that should be on ESPN.
The Ocho?
The Ocho, exactly. The Guinness World Record for the largest collection of Scrabble memorabilia belongs to a fan who owns tens of thousands of unique and rare items related to the game.
Interesting.
Do you play Scrabble where somebody can challenge the word and you keep it like, you're not going to just let it slide if somebody
puts a fake word on there, fake news, then you definitely have to challenge them on it.
Have you ever played a word like oxyphenbutazone?
I have not.
That apparently is a very high scoring word. Would you believe that?
I would definitely believe that. One of mine that I know, you can play ZI, I believe. I think that's a legal Scrabble word.
ZA is one it mentions here.
Maybe it is ZA.
QI, ZA.
I was getting those confused. Yeah.
EX.
Yeah. So there's a few of those. If you know, you have to know. But if you know, you can play it, and somebody's going to challenge you, but you can rest assured. And now, you don't have to go to a dictionary. I think Scrabble has a official words list that they're just pulling from dictionaries. But it is official. It's funny that, is it a Scrabble word? Like, that became vernacular for a while. Like,
it did.
When somebody would say so, it wasn't, is that in the dictionary? No, it's a Scrabble word,
Uh-huh. I agree.
We each have one left. I would pose that maybe we both think of what that one left would be for each of us, but we mentioned some of these others as well.
Okay.
Because there's still a lot on here we haven't even talked about, and maybe one of us talks about it and we hit the button, but I say let's not rush to name our number 4 quite yet.
Okay.
One I'm not going to take, but I'm going to mention. This was one that we was on the fence of whether or not it's a board game, and that's Battleship. It is a board.
It is.
So we're going to count it.
I enjoy Battleship. I would not say it is top 10, though.
No. But it's solid.
It is. Makes a great digital game.
Yeah. It makes a great not party game, but like, a youth group game or so, because we've done it life size.
Okay.
Where you take it, if you've got a camp or something like that, you want to do something with some kids. You put up a big divider in the middle, and we would tell our students to sit down or lay down in whatever shape in their area, their side that they want to. And then you got one person on each team that has like, dodgeballs or something, or water balloons if it's summertime, and they got to toss it over. And if they can hit them, then they're out,
I like that.
So we have a lot of fun with that.
I always associate Battleship with going on a trip somewhere, because I would play this in the car.
Yeah.
I would like to play. That's when I had fun playing Battleship. Was in the car. Just seemed like a good game.
There's great strategy with that too. I mean, a lot of these games, but like, did you have a go-to?
Nope.
Just placed it wherever your heart desired. Mine would always be to put all of my ships in one corner.
Okay. And just hope that they didn't find that corner?
Yeah. They're going to find that corner, and they're going to, in their mind, even if they do find the corner, which takes a minute, unless they get really lucky,
they're going to think that
it's just one ship. So they're going to take one of your ships out, cool, or maybe not, but then they're going to move on to something else, a different side. That was usually my go-to. What other ones that aren't going to crack our top 8 here?
Well, this one is very easy, and again, this one was teetering on is it a game or board game or not. To me, that's Connect 4.
Yeah.
Super simplistic game, but we'll play Connect 4, for a long time.
Yeah.
I love playing Connect 4. Again, it transfers to a digital space very easily.
Easily makes a giant game, too.
It does. So I think Connect 4 is a lot of fun.
I like that. Guess Who? I haven't played that in forever, but that's a lot of fun, too. If you don't know the premise, each side has the same people, but you have a card that's your character, and the other person has to guess who it is, and they're by process of elimination, they're eliminating people.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I played.
Yeah, I know.
Guess Who?
Let's see here. What else do we got?
One that I learned early on was Trouble.
Yeah. Another fun board.
It is, because you got that bubble that you get to
big
pop.
bubble in the middle.
And the pieces are fun to move.
They are, yeah.
Trouble, but that's one of those early kind of introduction to board games,
Yeah.
That I think that the kids pick up and learn. And it's easily contained because you're not rolling dice all over the place.
Right.
It's just in that little bubble to pop.
That was smart.
Yeah, it was.
Very, very smart.
It was. So I like Trouble a lot.
Sorry. Very similar.
I'm so tempted to take Sorry as my fourth one, just because, again, as a kid, that's probably the second board game that I really remember playing.
Yeah.
And that's the one I have been accused of flipping the board over and stuff like that. My wife and my sister-in-law, her sister, because we grew up together, they really accused me of doing that. I do not recall that.
You can be mean and sorry.
At all. Yes, you can.
You can be very mean and sorry.
You can.
That's why it's called Sorry.
But it's a lot of fun. You hit one of those slides and just go down through there and knock people off the board. Mm-hmm. I love the game Sorry, and I'm so tempted to take it just for nostalgia, but at this moment, I'm letting it slide.
No pun intended. Also fun board is Mousetrap. We mentioned that earlier. Like, we remember Mousetrap, but we're having a hard time because it had so many different contraptions and things.
Yes, but this is a very visually stimulating game.
It goes vertical with a whole bunch of different stuff, and I think
does it have a bell? For some reason, there's a bell that keeps coming to my mind.
I don't see a bell here, but I mean the whole purpose is you're trying to. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. There was another game, Don't Wake Daddy or something like. Do you remember that? I'm looking at Mousetrap and it reminds me of that, where it was like you had to sneak through, and if you landed on certain things, you did things like this, where it caused the dad. It was like a little animatronic father.
Okay, he was asleep.
Would wake up if you did the wrong thing.
Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I weirdly remember that. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking about Mousetrap if you have anything or something else.
I would love to continue talking about Mousetrap. I just have not played it in, 3 decades, so I can't remember much about it. Sort of like Candyland. That's another one. Lauren just did it as her theme for Halloween at her place of work. And she's explaining, I'm like, I don't even remember characters and all this stuff to Candyland. But after I saw the picture, I was like, holy cow, there's a lot to Candyland that I don't remember. Another one being Chutes and Ladders.
Yeah.
Those are all kind of those young kid games that's just been so long, I can't remember those.
Yeah, she said, we're going to do Candyland. I was like, how are you going to do Candy? Y'all just going to dress up as candy? She goes, no, the characters. I didn't even know there were characters.
Yeah.
I had zero idea.
I did not remember that.
She mentioned King Candy, and I was like, okay, I guess that kind of sounds familiar, but I don't remember that. Okay, Don't Wake Daddy. Be the first player to reach the refrigerator without waking Daddy. So there's a father figure, an animatronic, and everybody has a color piece. Take turns spinning to move their piece. Move forward the number of spaces to the nearest color. If you land on a space with a number, you must press Daddy's alarm clock button that many times. And if Daddy, I don't like saying Daddy this many times. And if Daddy pops up, then you go back to the beginning. So it's kind of a game of risk, a little game of chance that, I guess it's like a random number generator in there.
Okay.
So that's Don't Wake Daddy. Mousetrap. Oh, you're building the mousetrap and then trying to capture your opponent's mice. So you set up the game, starting pieces of the mousetrap, follow the game's instructions. Each player selects a mouse piece and places it on start. Players take turn rolling dice, moving their mouse to pick up pieces around that space. So you're kind of building and trying to sabotage your teammate. That's how that played.
I do remember that one now.
Yeah.
But Don't Wake Daddy, do they still make it?
It's on Amazon.
Really?
I remember seeing commercials for it back in the day.
Yeah,
that's the only reason that came to my memory.
It just doesn't ring a bell.
But I feel like, the 90s, 80s, 90s were when you would see board games like that had lots of moving pieces. It went from the flat board to vertical. You could add stuff and do things to it.
What we have not talked about is the amount of modern board games
Yeah.
that have hit the market. It feels like in just the last decade.
Yeah.
We were looking at some lists of like most popular board games, and there's a lot of them we've not even heard of.
Never heard
like
of in my life.
Board games feel like they have had this moment,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of nerdy people that are really into some of these games. You know, these are
Now,
because
listen, we're not saying we're not nerdy.
No.
But there's a different kind of nerdy out
yes,
there.
these are not like games that you're just going to sit down and play with your family. These are going to be very detailed,
These are,
specific
yeah.
games. Difficult entry
You're
points
getting
to them.
experience points, and there's just
Yes.
a whole different world you're a part of. I've never gotten into those kind of games.
Also, a lot of these board games tend to be pricey.
Yes.
Like board games in general have just gotten expensive, but you,
like
you think of a $20, $25 board game, we're talking about some $75, $85, $100 board games I've seen
Yeah.
when you get into some of these.
I asked ChatGPT when we first started this, what are the top 25 board games? I'm going to read you off
Yeah.
the top 10 and maybe a little bit. I'll give you the top 12. Tell me when you recognize any of these. Number 12 is Spirit Island. 11 is Dominion. Number 10 is Carcassonne. Number 9 is Azul. Number 8 is Seven Wonders. 7 is Terraforming Mars.
I've heard that one.
6 is Pandemic.
Yep.
5 is Scythe. Scythe.
Yes.
4 is Ticket to Ride.
Yep.
Catan.
Yep.
2 is Wingspan.
Nope.
Gloomhaven is number 1.
I'm sorry, come again?
Yeah.
Don't know
I
that.
mean, others on here. Why not? We'll just go down the list. 13 is The Crew, Root, Splendor, Agricola, King of Tokyo, Code Names, which we did not include because that's a card game.
Yes.
Clank, Castles of Burgundy, Time Stories, Betrayal of House on Haunted on the Hill, Decrypto, Blood Rage, The Quacks of Quedlinburg.
So I think I knew like 5 of the 25.
That's incredible that those are the most popular games and well reviewed, and we have not heard of them.
No.
We would consider ourselves board game fans.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of those.
I'm not even I don't know if those are on the shelf at Walmart, Target.
Right? Yeah.
I know a couple of them are like Ticket to Ride, Catan.
Yeah, of course.
Code Names, but
I feel like I've seen Seven Wonders. I know nothing about it, but I think I've seen it. Pandemic is on every list.
It is.
We got to play that, I
We
guess.
need to play it.
You said you've heard of Scythe or Scythe or Sith or whatever that is?
I have.
Okay. Alternate history of the 1920s where players manage resources and expand territories. That sounds very Catan-like. So there's a ton of games out there that we've never played or heard of. So if we're not mentioning your favorite game of all time, I am very sorry.
There was another one that I was going to mention, and it's escaping me right now.
I'm mentioning some others here that I don't think we're going to talk through. Othello. Have you ever played Othello?
I don't think so.
I have at least parts of it, and I've never played it. It came out in 1883.
It's old.
Blockus.
I've seen it. Never played it.
Never played it. Stratego.
Don't know that one.
Axis and Allies.
Okay, that's the one I was going to mention.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like Risk.
Right.
Except this is World War II.
I think so.
And it's fun. Not as fun to me as Risk.
Yeah.
But I did like playing that one when I was younger.
I'm going to take a chance that you're not going to pick this next one I'm going to mention. You might. Operation.
No.
Great game, though.
That's
borderline top 8 for me.
That is classic.
I mean, there's zero strategy involved.
Just trying
Just
not
a
to
steady hand. I remember one time, because you keep going, right? Or do you take turns? I don't remember. There may be different house rules to it. But I think one time we were playing it to where like you keep go like in pool, you just keep going as long as you can. And I was like, I'll go first, and we'll just we'll take turns and see how many we can get. I didn't tell my brother. I'm assuming that I took the batteries out of the game. So I ran the table.
He was really impressed.
Way.
Wow.
But it's simple in its execution. Came out in the 60s. If you can't imagine that. You mentioned Chutes and Ladders, I think, at one point. Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think either one of us are going to pick that.
No.
I don't know. Is that a board game or is it more of a? I don't know. I've never played it.
I have not either.
We were both Christian boys.
Yes, yeah, it was off limits. It was definitely off limits for me.
Which,
so
looking back at it now, I'm like, okay, I guess it's really. I don't know.
I still don't know much about it other than what I've seen in Big Bang Theory.
Right, yeah.
And I know that people really get into it. And I think there's a group in town that even gets together and plays. You know, I know that there's
a big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the premise of it.
I think it's just storytelling. I think you're just you're coming up with.
You're making up the.
To my knowledge, somebody's going to roast me. We're gonna put this on TikTok and just welcome your roasting. But to my knowledge, there is a dungeon master that creates this story as they're going. Now, sometimes they write it out, I think, but I think they can also improv it maybe. And as they're going, each person has created their own character, and I think they are supposed to take whatever experience points, like it stays with you in perpetuity for whatever game you're a part of. So if you've created this character, as you get points in this game, that's supposed to carry over to your next game. And you walk in and say, I'm a level whatever dragon master or something like that, supposedly. But this person, I think, tells the story. It says, you have come to a castle. I'm butchering this. You have come to a castle and there is a gate. What do you do? And then there's a code book. That's why they're always looking through the books. You roll these dice and it tells you what to do according to the dice. So if you roll a 7, then you look on the thing and says, number 7 says, do this. And so at that point is where the game part happens.
This reminds me of a game from the show Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That one of the characters, Ben, he ends up creating a game called Cones of Dunshire. And it's played out very much. Really? It's probably making fun of D&D. But that's how it sounds like. There's just all this random stuff.
I don't know that I would have the patience. I love creative things. I love storytelling. I like that kind of stuff. I don't know that I have the patience for Dungeons and Dragons, though. I don't know. Here's the deal. If you're watching this online right now, please educate us on what the hype is around Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Because we were two Christian boys back in the day, and Dungeons and Dragons was off limits.
Yeah, it was a no-no.
Which I'm trying to remember why. Because it was sorcery and spells.
Wizards and witchcraft. I don't know. Again, I know nothing about the game.
In the South in the 90s, that was a big no-no.
Do you know when this game came out?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Is this a modern?
1974.
Okay.
With physical board elements.
Okay.
I don't know why it includes that.
I guess, okay.
To let us know it's
a board game.
But we would be remiss if we didn't mention it. They'd be in the comments for sure.
Yeah, that one's probably on a lot of people's lists.
Probably.
That's looking at us.
Okay. I feel like there's probably 2 that either one of us are going to mention. Do you want to go ahead and take one?
Sure. I would like Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, that is not one of the 2 I thought you would do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's a great one.
I may regret that.
I forget that's a board game.
Yeah.
Because it's so much about the trivia.
There's multiple versions of this one, but I love Trivial Pursuit. I like trivia games, things that test your knowledge, and especially in this one because they've got, science, geography, history. Mm-hmm. I'm never good with art. That's my way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not very cultured. That's a surprise to most of you, I'm sure. But that one's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
And
if this is our kind of nerd.
Yes.
If you're the kind of nerd who has just the most useless knowledge in the back of your brain.
This morning, one of the places where I work, I was in the conference room and everybody just sitting around talking, and some guy was telling a story about he was in Texas, and he's like, I ran into a guy the other day. He had a kangaroo. It was on a leash, had a spike collar and all this kind of stuff. He's like, that's the craziest thing. I didn't know you'd even have it. I said, yeah, it's legal to own kangaroos in Texas with a permit. He's like, wait,
How do you know?
I said, yeah, it's illegal to own kangaroos in the state of Arkansas. In fact, I said there's only 3 states in the nation where it's legal to own kangaroos. He's like, that is the most stupid thing I've ever. How do you know this? I'm like, literally, I had this conversation with my buddy Craig like 2 weeks ago. I found this map and sent to him. And that knowledge came into use in a real conversation today.
We do every once in a while, we'll do a Trivia Friday, and Kevin he'll throw a question out in our group chat and say, first one, I'll give you 10 minutes to respond, and whoever has the right answer gets a Starbucks gift card or something. And the question, it was during Halloween week, was what state produces the most pumpkins?
Oh,
and I remembered it was Illinois because it was so weird. And everybody else is guessing different stuff, and I'm confidently typing in Illinois. And I was like, finally, you know what?
Yes.
This useful knowledge
Yes.
is paying off. But Trivial Pursuit did that, like just rando questions, history, and like you said, all the categories. And I mean, there's not a ton of strategy necessarily
no,
involved.
this is just all on your wit.
But I mean, you do have to be pretty widely knowledgeable because you never know what one you're going to land on.
That's right.
I love Trivia. That's a great pick. I thought you might go Sequence.
That was the other game that I was really tempted to take.
Sequence, again, a little bit of a chance game, but there is some strategy as far as where you place it. If you're not familiar with, explain to the people what Sequence is.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I played it. You have a board, and it has all of the cards that are in a deck of cards. There are 2 of them. Is that correct?
At least. I feel like there may be more of some, but they go in order.
Yes.
Throughout the whole board.
So you've got the whole deck of cards spread out across the board. And you're either playing one-on-one or you can work in teams. And I love to play as teams.
Every time we get to team up against the girls is a good day.
That's fun. And you are trying to create a sequence of 5 in a row.
Yeah.
They can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal.
Yeah.
And so you get these little tokens to cover them up, they look like poker chips. You have a deck of cards.
Yeah.
And you get, what, 5, 7 in your hand, something like that.
I think so.
And you are trying to put a token, you're going to match whatever's on your card to the board, and you're going to put a token down.
It's great playing in teams because you don't know what each other has.
No.
And so you're trying to play off of each other, but you're doing it blindly.
Yes. You're hoping that you guys are in the same vicinity of the board, that you can work together. And again, you can block people if they come over there.
So it's a mix of solitaire and Connect 4 in a way.
It is.
In a weird way.
Yes.
It's a combination of
and
the two.
it's just a fun game. It's a quick game. What, 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah, it can go by very fast. I mean, it can drag
It can drag a little.
But it typically goes pretty fast.
Yes. But it's fun.
It is a lot of fun. One other one I forgot to put on here, Wits and Wagers, also a really fun game.
That was my, Sequence, Wits and Wagers, and Trivial Pursuit were the 3 that I was going through. Yeah. Which one were you taking?
I'm going to take Clue.
Oh.
We haven't mentioned Clue yet.
A classic game.
So I'm going to put Clue in at number 4. No, Siri, I don't want to talk to you right now.
This was before all the murder mystery games became popular.
Yeah, it really was.
This was the OG mystery game.
Clue came out in 1949. Ooh. So you're talking high to gangster era and all that kind of stuff. So
yes,
this is a lot of fun. This is a very fun game. It does take some strategy involved. You kind of get given a blind hand though.
Yep.
And you're trying to pick up the clues along the way. You gotta have it. Really, just it hones in on your detective skills, trying to deduce, process of elimination. You can also just have some fun with it. You know, you could dress it up or dress it down. There's some house rules involved as well. So I'm gonna put Clue at number 4.
On Ranker, on their list of the best classic board games, Clue comes in at number 3.
Okay.
They have it ranked high
on this list. I think Clue came in at 3. Clue is 4 on this Chat GPT list.
Scrabble was number 2. Chess number 1.
Oh wow, Chess is 7 on this one.
Okay, Number 4 was Battleship. Connect 4 was number 5. Game of Life, number 6. Sorry, number 7. Risk, number 8. Trivial Pursuit, number 9. Trouble 10. Candyland. I haven't seen. Where's Monopoly at?
Was it not number 1?
Chess is number 1.
Oh, that's right. How is Monopoly?
There is something very, very wrong
Wow.
with this ranker list.
Yeah, I don't trust it.
What in the world?
I saw Pictionary as you flew by there, and we haven't mentioned Pictionary. There's an old version that is a board game, like you move pieces.
Okay.
But that's all you're doing is just trying to get to the end. Like it's just like if I remember right, it's like a straight line, and so it's just kind of moving from one end to the other. I'm not going to classify that as a board game. I think that's more of a party game.
Apples to Apples was on here, sort of the same way.
Yeah. So
here's one. Was this Cranium?
Cranium. It was kind of like a.
It's Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah.
Pictionary, charades.
Yeah. It's kind of all that
All
stuff
of it.
into one, which was really fun. We went through a Cranium phase for a bit there.
You had a version that was called Cranium Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what was different about that one.
I think it had some extra things. I remember there was like Play-Doh or something also. You could sculpt things. And I think there was some sound effect stuff.
I remember this would have been like 2006 probably.
Yeah.
We played with a group of friends from your church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the nights I have laughed harder than ever in my life playing Cranium Wow. It was
There's
hilarious.
ridiculous things you have to do in that
Yes.
game. Yeah.
That
I
one
forgot about Cranium.
So did I until I just saw this.
That's a fun game.
But to remember that one specific night means that it was a good game.
Old building.
Yes,
wasn't it? Yeah.
it was.
Yeah,
That
was a fun night. I do remember that.
Wow.
I think that's all I got. We thought this would be a short episode.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't.
No. I'm just disappointed that Ranker does not have Monopoly on here somewhere.
well.
That is, I don't know. This whole list gets thrown out now.
Absolutely. All right, shall we bracket?
Let's do it.
If you want to be the best, you have to beat the rest. This is the Best Things Bracket.
Eight board games. Can we narrow it down to one? That's what we have to decide right now, and we will do it. Maybe.
That's the job.
All right, first matchup, Monopoly versus Clue. 3, 2, 1, Monopoly. Ticket to Ride versus Scrabble. 3, 2, 1, Ticket to Ride. Settlers of Catan or Catan versus Trivial Pursuit. It's a great first round matchup. 3, 2, 1, Catan. And then we have Risk versus The Game of Life. 3, 2, 1, Risk.
So no disagreement whatsoever in the first round.
Not a single one. All the high seeds have taken it. A true top 4.
It is.
Monopoly versus Ticket to Ride. 3, 2, 1, Monopoly. Catan versus Risk. 3. This one's hard. 3, 2, 1, Risk. I can't believe it.
I thought we would disagree there.
I did also. I was confident I was going Catan. And then when I heard it match up, I was like, I want to play Risk more. Oh, wow. Our first upset. Look at that. That means we have in our final round Monopoly versus Risk. 3, 2, 1.
Risk.
Really?
I don't know.
Did the Falcons or the Patriots come back?
They've got the ball in
I
the
had
fourth
the
quarter.
button ready.
I know.
I was about
you
to
were
hit
going.
it.
Did you say Monopoly? Is that what
I
you were
said
going?
Monopoly. Oh, I said Mon, and then I heard what you had to say.
Okay.
And my mouth stayed open.
Let's go to 10.
Oh my gosh, I did not expect that. Okay, Monopoly 1 to 10, best board game of all time.
Can you make an argument for Risk over Monopoly?
Yeah, I mean, you could easily convince me. I feel like, but I don't know, man. Monopoly. I feel like Monopoly is more ubiquitous as a board game. I think you can get more people on board with playing Monopoly. Your average Joe can play it more. I think you got to be, well, I want to say you got to be more competitive, play Risk, but not really. Like, I would say Monopoly's, even though it's a long game, it is faster to play.
It is.
It can move faster
Yeah.
at a faster pace. You're really locked in with Risk. You've got to dedicate the time to it, or be willing to have it set up and keep coming back to it.
Okay. I think I'm going back to Monopoly.
Okay.
Just all the versions of it that are there. I was trying not to just give it to Monopoly.
You don't want to be a homer.
I don't, because
I think this is
I laid
closer
out.
than we originally thought it would be, though.
It is, because I love Risk.
We thought this was going to be a landslide
Yeah.
no matter what. And
Yeah.
I will say, I think Risk is definitely closer than I thought it
Yeah.
would be after seeing it.
But I'll go ahead and say let's give it to Monopoly.
All right, Monopoly, congratulations. You have won Best Board Game. We'd like to say there was never a doubt, but we doubted.
It may be the best thing today, but is it the best thing of all time? It's time for the best thing battle.
We have Monopoly versus, I don't know if you look at the board there, I made a caveat based on our last episode.
I see that.
Instead of a haircut with Steve Jobs, I went ahead and made it eating bread with Steve Jobs. So, I mean, you can also have a haircut, but you're going to get some hair in your bread, which is going on 3 weeks now as our current champion. So, would you rather, what's better, playing Monopoly or hanging out with Steve Jobs? 3, 2, just ended abruptly, didn't it? 1. Steve
Monopoly.
Jobs. I'm beginning to doubt your love of Steve Jobs.
Listen.
You were getting ready to give up on Monopoly.
I know, but
Yay,
now
3 minutes ago.
Now
You don't want it to win? You don't want it to be locked in the Hall of Fame? Is that what it is?
I don't want Monopoly in the Hall of Fame.
No, Steve Jobs. Because, I mean, after this, if he advances, he's got one more week.
He's got one more
and he's
week to
Hall
go.
of Fame.
I know, but imagine not having Monopoly.
Okay.
It
I don't
is-
have as many of them as you do. So
It is such a fun game, though. What would we do without Monopoly?
play Risk. There are other games.
But just eating a slice of bread with Steve?
Having the conversation.
How long does it take to eat a slice of bread?
We have discussed this ad nauseum. Like,
Eating bread is less time than getting a haircut.
either way, just a conversation, being able to pick his brain. I'm sticking with Steve Jobs. We can go to 1 to 10 if you want to. That's fine with me.
I feel like we need to.
Okay. Monopoly, 1 to 10, 3, 2, 1, 8.
9.
17. Steve Jobs, 3, 2, 1, 9 is 18. Steve Jobs, congratulations.
You pulled it out, Steve.
He did. Now here's the rub.
Close.
Here's the rub for a second, okay? He is 1 week away. You want to know my prediction? I do not know what our next topic will be. But I predict he does not make it to the Hall of Fame. The only reason I say that, next week is Thanksgiving. We typically do some type of a Thanksgiving episode. I think he's getting to the goal line, and like all those college and NFL guys,
He's gonna drop the ball.
He's gonna drop it right at the one, and he's not gonna make it across.
Steve, don't do it, Steve.
So I'm predicting right now. I have no further knowledge, but that's my prediction right now.
It's hard to upset something that's Thanksgiving related.
That's true. Very hard to do.
I may have been willing to budge on Monopoly, but I don't know if I'm giving up mashed potatoes for Steve, or I'll give up the Thanksgiving Day parade for Steve.
Oh yeah. Listen to if next week's episode is the Thanksgiving parade part 2. He may make it after all.
He might.
If he goes up against the Macy's Stars. That does crack. I need to go back and listen to that. We're just gonna rerun that on you know what? We're doing that on Thanksgiving Day.
It's a Thanksgiving Day special.
We're going to rerun that episode. So in case you are driving to somebody's Thanksgiving and you missed the parade and you want to listen to it, you're going to have that in your ears. I commit to that right now. Okay. You got anything else?
Well, I did want to mention an error from our previous episode.
Okay. Hold on. Let's get the appropriate. Okay, breaking.
What was our previous episode?
Then how are you correcting an error? We were talking about brown stuff.
Yes, that's where I was going with this. We did not discuss
Oh, yes.
brownies.
This is a big error on our part.
It is an omission of all omissions.
It probably could have won.
It could have won.
How in the...
I had it on my list to talk about. I am passionate about brownies.
Yes.
And somehow we ended the episode and it never got discussed.
No, I remember texting you a few days ago. I was like, you have no idea what we just left out.
I don't. What even won that?
Bread. That's why bread is up there with Steve Jobs. Bread won.
3, 2, 1. Bread or brownies? Brownies. Absolutely. Brownies would have won that.
Let's go retroactive then. Are you willing to do this?
Okay.
If bread won, which are you taking, bread or a haircut with Steve Jobs?
I feel like you're going to probably be back in the same place.
I like brownies a lot more than bread, but
I agree.
I'm probably in the same place, though.
Brownies are one of the greatest
They're so good.
desserts
They're so
that
good.
exist. And if I can get a medium rare brownie, I love medium rare brownies. I like brownies of all kinds, but especially a really nice gooey fudgy brownie.
Where somebody would go, was this cooked all the way? You're like, nope, give it to me.
Hand it over. Yeah.
Lauren likes them frozen.
Frozen brownie. I've never had that.
You need to have a frozen brownie. Yeah.
I would definitely try that.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't need to be hard as a rock, but like if it's been in there for a while and it just firms up a little bit more.
A little more toothsome.
A little bit more toothsome, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of cakey brownies. That's cake. Okay? I don't like when people make cakey brownies. But brownies absolutely would have won that bracket.
100%.
And like we need to go edit that into the episode somehow and read it because that is just totally we bungled that one big time. You talk about dropping the ball at the goal line.
We did that.
That's what we did.
We absolutely did
and it had to be discussed.
That one was recovered by the defense.
Yes.
Yeah, we really botched that.
Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Do you have any other criticisms? Let us know. Comment on this video or email us. Man, yeah, I feel like there was something else I remember when I was going back and putting that online that I thought of, and I can't remember what it is now. But brownies was definitely the big one. All right, I got nothing else. You got nothing else?
Nothing.
Go play a board game.
Play Monopoly.
Yeah, go play Monopoly. Have some fun. Be super competitive. Toss a board. For the best things, I am Craig.
I'm Aaron.
We'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can see more videos from us. Craig, Aaron, what are you still doing? Go click the video.
Now.